Well, you guys asked for it, and here it is. And before you say anything about the quality of the drawings, I'd like to point out all of the drawings for this video were done in under 10 minutes because I kind of wanted to just get them done for the night. And also, I had a couple of, I don't want to say complaints, but suggestions, basically saying that my drawings would look better if I did them online, and since I don't have a way to do that, seeing as to how my phone is my only recording tool, I figured it might look a little bit better if I do a bit of a cartoony style, so it doesn't have to look realistic. So if you guys don't like the cartoony style, then just tell me down in the comments. But I'm just gonna do it for this video and see how it goes, and there's gonna be more D&D stories to come. You guys really seem to like them. So, straight into the story. There was a little bit before the start of the story, but it's really not important because it was the beginnings of a one-shot, and I'm not gonna lie, the one-shot was horrible. For those of you that played it, the big twist to the mystery was that goblins were stealing the crops. Not that interesting. In any event, it all started in a shop, and there was this orc, and they were trying to get enchantments for their weapons. They were going to go solve this mystery that they never got to, that I just told you the ending to because it was a one-shot and doesn't really matter. But they were going to enchant things, and the way that this shopkeep had his enchantments set up was they were orbs, and you could buy the orb and put it on your weapon. Well, we had an Aarakocra in the party, and the Aarakocra got very curious about a red orb with a skull in the center with glowing red eyes just looking at it, in a box labeled Destroy. And instead of seeing the label that said Destroy and just assuming it was dangerous, this is why I love my party, by the way, the Aarakocra just goes, "Fuck it, I'm taking the orb." And so he does. Sorry for that language there. Anyways. So he picks up the red orb, and he kind of looks at it for a second, and the party, the whole time, is telling him, don't do it. This is a horrible idea. It is very obviously evil. And the Aarakocra just goes, enchants the weapon. So the Aarakocra falls asleep and has a dream. And basically in the dream, the Aarakocra wakes up on a roof and kind of sits there, and all the light, like a sheet of black from the stars and the moon, just completely covers over, and the two red eyes from the skull look down, and the skull just says, "You need me more than I need you now, mortal." And the Aarakocra kind of looks confused for a moment, and then starts to freak out when giant black skeleton hands rip the roof off of the building and eat the roof, and then the Aarakocra wakes up. So after that, they kind of wander outside, and they're figuring out what to do. They're still focused on the mystery at this point. And the Aarakocra sees a drug dealer that occurred earlier in the story. I always have a comic relief character. The drug dealer was this comic relief character. So the drug dealer is pushing a wagon, and there's a hand falling out from under a sheet. And they question the drug dealer. But he's like, "Oh, no, I didn't have anything to do with this. I'm transporting, orphans." And he tries to hide it. And eventually, after they press him a little too far, he kind of just throws down a smoke bomb and sprints for it. But the Aarakocra runs after him and tackles him and holds him there. And as the Aarakocra's holding him there, he, I don't know why I said she. I am so sorry, Don, or Eeyore, or whatever you go by. I always say she for your character for some reason. Anyways, the Aarakocra holds him down, and gets this urge to eat him. And as the party's going to get things to question this man, they eventually come back, and the Aarakocra's fighting urges, but they pull the Aarakocra off, and the Aarakocra has another flashback, and in this one, there's a skeleton that is white fighting a skeleton that is black. And they fight for a minute, and then the white skeleton falls over, and the black skeleton raises the flail and swings it down, and as the flail's about to come down on the angel's skull, the angel just looks at the Aarakocra and says, "I am sorry, I have failed you. I have tried." So the Aarakocra wakes up and is just like, "No, I have to go back, I have to help them." So the Aarakocra moves over and kind of sits down and meditates. And as this is happening, he just wakes up in a completely black space, and only sees Dust's character. So he reaches out to Dust's character, and as Dust takes his hand, Dust finds his character, which his character is female, so I can call his character she, finds his character in the same dream state as the Aarakocra. And so they see this, and the Aarakocra, seeing the angel about to die this time, just flies towards the sword that's starting to come down. For some reason, bad DMmanship, I guess, I changed the flail to a sword, and the Aarakocra slams its full body weight into the sword. And as this is happening, the little girl who, a changeling little girl, is 12, according to the backstory, just draws back the bow and fires at the leg of the black skeleton, and it causes a section to break off, and that section turns white. Meanwhile, while all this is happening in the dream state, in the real world, the, no, this is a different game I'm thinking of. The demon just takes the two unconscious bodies and brings them to an inn, pays for an inn room, and kind of sits there and waits. And suddenly, the demon, a normal-sized black skeleton, comes out in the real world, and the demon starts to fight that. And as this is happening, we went back to the dream world, and they kept fighting the skeleton, and more sections were turning white, and eventually the angel's voice told them to go for the eye. So the Aarakocra went up and tried to go in, but could not fit. So the Aarakocra starts wailing on the black skeleton's skull, and gets the idea and flies down to Dust, who at this point has been picked up and thrown at the ribs of the black skeleton, and is kind of holding on for dear life at this point. And the Aarakocra lifts him up to the eye, or her, sorry, and tosses her into the eye of the skeleton. And Dust kind of sits there for a moment, looking around and realizing that she is in a dark, mossy room, and she walks over closer to the center where there's this giant mass. It kind of looks like a meatball, but it's breathing and moving a little bit. And tendrils kind of just shoot up and rip a section of the ceiling out. And as the section of the ceiling falls out, Dust looks out into what he presumes is the real world, and he just sees, through his perspective in the real world, the Aarakocra's eyes as the Aarakocra kind of looks over and smiles at him, and the blue eye, which in the game was representing how much good was left in the Aarakocra, was kind of like flickering, like it was going out, and the red eye was starting to grow stronger. So Dust kind of wanders around the back and sees a small opening and starts to crawl in it. And while this is happening, Pokecrafter, I'm just going to call him Aiden because that's always what I call him, has found himself transported in another dream state to a meadow. This was a very trippy game. And he starts to fight this guy in a black cloak that is literally like the embodiment of evil. This guy is the literal, like, the evil spirit. And he fights him and has no regard for it. And then we kind of go, well, not no regard, just no luck. He's not killing him easily. And we kind of, at this point, go back to Dust, who gets in the middle of this meatball-looking thing, and is very kind of traumatized at this point, because this changeling is 12. It's a little girl. She's not supposed to be seeing this kind of stuff. And she sees a beating heart, and she goes to stab at it, but rolls a nat 1 and misses, and just stabs a section of the meatball, which makes the good kind of dissipate a little more and get weaker. And then the second time, Dust goes to hit the heart, and the meatball kind of forms out, and the heart misses. And Aiden appears and immediately grapples this evil spirit, which leaves Dust ready to attack. And reasonably so. For the first few seconds, the little girl is confused, but the demon kind of just tosses the little girl a dagger that he'd enchanted in the shop they originally got the red and blue orbs from. And so he tosses the little girl this dagger, and the little girl catches it, and as the evil spirit's breaking free from the grasp of the demon, the little girl kind of just grabs its shoulder and thrusts this fire and ice dagger into its exposed beating heart. And it kind of lets out a shriek as fire shoots out of the dagger in this wounded heart, and it starts bleeding all over the place. And then immediately after the dagger is pulled out, the entire evil spirit just gets covered in ice and falls forward and shatters into 100 pieces. And that's about where we ended the one-shot. There was a happy ending somewhat in that they killed the evil spirit, and they woke up, and they went on to live normal lives. And then at the very end of this, what I thought was the coolest twist, because I wanted to connect this to the Rotgar campaign, the demon in the Rotgar campaign wakes up and simply exclaims, "I will have that dagger," referring to the fire and ice dagger. And if you know anything about that demon, if you've seen any of the videos, I guess I don't have videos on him yet, but if you've played in the games or you know anything about that demon, you know that that demon is crazy obsessed with daggers. But anyways, guys, I'm going to leave this video here. Thanks for watching. I'll put a link to the Discord down in the description. That's where these stories come from. It is, in fact, my Discord. If you're a dungeon master or even a player looking to join a server that's active not only in chat, but also in games, as we run one-shots and small campaigns most days of the week, and then bigger campaigns that are more official on weekends. If you're interested in that, just click the link in the description. It'd be great to have you. Let me know you saw the video and you came in for that, and we'll get you set up. If you're a DM, we'll give you a chat room if you want. You can suggest bots. In any event, that's enough shameless plug. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.